Okay. Yes. Thank you. Shall we start now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Shall we proceed?
Okay,
Yes,
sir.
yes, sir.
Thank you. We'll start now second session. In the second session, we'll be dealing with some questions if you have come across. Make sure that there shall be an interaction. Dear participants, above all colleagues, in this session, we'll be in fact dealing with some enforcement mechanisms when there is a violation of human rights of women, not only in India, cutting across the world. You know very well, we have classified human rights into 3 generational models. First generational human rights, second generational human rights, third generational human rights. Civil and political rights should be called as if first generational human rights. Economic, social and cultural rights should be called as if second generation human rights. Solidarity rights, right to development should be brought as if the third generational human rights. In this way, we have classified. Thanks to UNESCO's director, Karl Vasek, who was actually responsible to classify them into 3 generational human rights for the survival of human being all over the world. Of course, much has been discussed on the enforcement of human rights. All in all, however, it requires a lot of drill to understand how human rights should be looked upon. How will you sensitize? To sensitize human rights of women, you have to put your effort always. First of all, you have to understand what are human rights and rights of women. When you look from the perspective of war situation, this could happen, especially in many countries of the world. It could be international armed conflict or internal armed conflict. You know very well that internal armed conflicts are highly dangerous than international armed conflicts. This could happen, especially in Libya, Kosovo, Yemen, our own neighboring country, Sri Lanka. Massacres occurred. Although we have had some specific international covenants at the international level, violations are quite common, even today. She is not accessible to have some amenities, although she has got all facilities from their respective governments are concerned. Look at NCRB reports, National Crime Record Bureau. reports. It's very alarming, shameful. I'm unfortunate to share few thoughts on women's human rights are concerned. Though we have known everything, you may say an education should be given. What kind of an education should be given to you? You know all these things. It is because of your own vested interest, pecuniary interest. Your rights are actually thrown out. So that's why we need to have some action plan to overcome the problems of women all over the world as such. See, typical examples are, in fact, bargos and social revolutions, as well as the liberation struggles against colonialism, imperialism, fascism, racism, communism, religious fundamentalism, or other ideologies which suppress the liberty and dignity of the human being all over the world. So it is because of these reasons. See, some states follow a different way. See, when you are actually enforcing the human rights of these vulnerable groups, that could be looked on the basis of these parameters. You have got all these parameters. Locally, you are protecting. State-wise, national-wise, UNO is also working. Regional agencies have come. Look at, you have a European Union, you have organization of American states, you have organization of African Union, you have SARC, NAFTA, OECD models. How many agencies you want to enforce human rights of women all over the world? Do you need some more agencies to look after or to come forward to understand civil rights, political rights, economic rights, social rights, cultural rights, and above all, human rights? How will you understand them? You know very well, being a student of different walks of life. Human rights, they are there everywhere. They have no boundaries. Of course, no doubt, all human rights are not absolute, subject to certain limitations that we have to understand from the perspective of enforcement of the human rights are concerned. Look at, we have been actually gambling with this vitiated circle. Some states follow military, some states follow communism, some states follow dictatorship, some states follow democracy and socialism. Which is supreme? How can you have oneness in the world? How can you have unilateralism between states? Look at Easternization and Westernization. Easternization has come through on the basis of Islamic faith. Westernization has come through on the basis of Christianity. In between, you have Northern Hemisphere and Southern Hemisphere and Middle East countries. Such be the case. How can you be reachable with oneness in the world? How can you be reachable with some systems of law through which we can facilitate women? So in this context, as and when you are dealing with the protection of human rights of women, not only in India, cutting across the world, these are the gambling vitiated. That you have to work up. You have, conflict resolution on women rights. You have Eurocentric approach, Asia-Africa centric approach. How do you understand these three main parallel systems all along? Of course, it requires a lot of drill to understand these parameters. Otherwise, it's very difficult to understand collective security, in which it has outspoken on the basis of UN Charter 1945 as such. Look at Chapter 7 of UN Charter 1945, wherein you have given some powers to Security Council to restore or maintain international peace and security. Look at the preamble in which it has outspoken on maintaining or restoring international peace and security. We need peace. We don't want war. Would you like war? It's a fundamental question. So that's why being a person who has come from a civil society should understand how in what manner these vulnerable groups should be protected and rehabilitated. So that's very, very important. Look at sexual crimes all over the world. They have been actually going on. You have rapes, marital rapes, insult to modesty, human trafficking, and forced prostitution. When it comes to the knowledge of human trafficking, there are so many legislations have set up. Still, the crisis is actually going on without having some sound solutions are concerned. So that's why we need to have some action plans and the role model approaches through which you can overcome these violences, especially sexual crimes against to these women are concerned. Apart from this, you have forced and child marriages. Acid throwing is also quite common. Look at forms of violence, marital rapes, domestic violence, acid throwing, reproduction coercions, dating abuse, sexual violence in college campus, denial of medical care, stalking, sexual harassment at working places. Kindly go through one of the interesting cases decided by Honorable Supreme Court in 1997, Vishaka versus State of Rajasthan's case, wherein it has outspoken on sexual harassment at working places, how in what manner sexual harassment at working places should be overcome. This is very important. Look at human trafficking and forced prostitution. So that's why the International Rescue Committee, IRC, has assessed the countries at risk, greatest risk of disturbance, I think. Screen.
ಮೆಸೇಜ್ ಬರ್ತಿದೆ ನಮಗೆ
ಇಷ್ಟು ಬಂದು ಸಾಕಾಗುತ್ತಾ? ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಇರಲಿ. Thank you. ವಾಯ್ಸ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬರ್ತಿತ್ತಲ್ಲ ವಿಡಿಯೋ ಎಲ್ಲ ಬರ್ತಿತ್ತಲ್ಲ ಬರ್ತಾನೆ. Okay. Risk ಇದೆ. Click ಮಾಡಿ. Screen sharing ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. Close ಮಾಡಿ. Okay, sorry for interruption. So when you deal with human trafficking, it's quite common. There are 5 worst countries for human trafficking. Perhaps you may have gone through. About 20,000 workers from North Korea are sent to Russia each year. There is a statistics when it comes to the knowledge of human trafficking and forced prostitution all over the world. Look at in China, demographic challenges created by countries' one-child policy have in fact led to Chinese men to find wives through sex trafficking. This is also quite common, especially in Iran. The migrant, particularly those from Afghanistan, are actually coerced into combat roles in Syria, and children young as 3 years old work as actually street beggars under the threat of physical and sexual violences are concerned. So likewise, you can witness the similar issues and challenges in Venezuela and rest of them. How will you empower women? There is a lot of scope to empower women. Country like India, providing education. What kind of education you are going to give? There shall be value-based education to be given. Self-employment and self-help groups we have. Then providing minimum needs like nutrition, health, sanitation, housing. Society should change the mentality towards the word women. You know very well, it depends on mindset of the people. No matter, it could be based on the culture in which you have been running since time immemorial. It depends on how you are actually visualizing the human rights of these women. And you have to encourage women to develop in their fields they are good at and make a career as such. So that's why it is one of the responsibilities on the part of to understand these ways to empower women are concerned. This has happened especially in Iraq. This has happened especially when there was actually war going on between the United States of America and Iraq. It was highly inhuman and had to be prosecuted in otherwise manner. That's what I said. If X happens, then Y ought to happen. If X commits a crime, he should be prosecuted mercilessly. First of all, women, they should understand their rights. You have to sensitize them. You have to give training. You have to give some awareness programs through which she can understand what are her rights. That's very, very important. So that's why there are some schemes have come through with you to understand gender sensitization. You have national plan for the action for girl child. You have national policy for empowerment of women, protection of women from Domestic Violence Act 2005. You have protection of women against sexual harassment at working place. So that's why, though we have been actually dealing with many legislations, you have to create an awareness, especially in rural areas. You have to strengthen the women empowerment programs, and you have to give training and professional development to women are concerned. Otherwise, it's very difficult to understand problems of women. Save girls, save society. This is one of the aspects through which we can understand how, in what manner the gravitational forces of the problem should be resolved. How long you should keep a problem? There shall be some conflict resolutions. Unless and until you should have had conflict resolutions, it would be virtually impossible to live as human being. There are so many challenges, I agree with you. But there is a room for discussing all these issues. So then, if something has gone wrong, how to file a case? Lodge a complaint. So based on FIR, everything can be routed through. Suppose you are unable to go to the station in which it has got jurisdiction, you can file a complaint anywhere. This is to be called as zero FIR. That can be transferred soon after that, no matter. Look at online FIR is also permitted. The National Commission for Women websites. You just go through and find out if something has gone wrong. Any sexual violence, as I said earlier slides. See how in what manner sexual violences should be resolved, and where exactly you can find some remedies. With a view to have remedies. So these are the action plans have been actually taken by the state and central government. Please go through them. Legal aid helpline numbers you have. You have Vanita Sahayavani, the branch of Pariha. You have the Development of Women and Child Development Agency, which has actually set up to understand the problems of these women. Especially in Karnataka, you have all these phone numbers. You can refer them immediately. Any rape, marital rape, sexual assaults, gang rapes, teasing, molestation, any violations against women can be brought to the notice of these numbers are concerned. You just go through Bangalore Women Police, Karnataka Women Police, Karnataka Women Commission, in which you have already been known. If you are living in Mysore, you can bring it to the notice of Mysore Women Police by dialing this number. These are the remedies available. You have to follow if something has gone wrong. And women helpline number in Bangalore and Karnataka, you have all these. Vanita Sahayavani, free counseling and police assistance you have. Nava Karnataka Mahila Rakshana Vedike you have. Abhayasrama you have. Vimochana you have. The South Indian Cell for Human Rights Education you have. Samaja Seva Samiti you have. These are the agencies have set up to redress the grievance of these vulnerable groups. So what I would like to share with you, when you are actually understanding human rights of women, they should be brought in on the basis of inclusive policies than exclusive policies. That you have to understand. As a social scientist, has got many responsibilities to understand problems of women. That's why you have to make use of all these numbers to work on. Take for example, how can I file a complaint before National Commission for Women? Who can file a complaint before National Commission for Women? So these are the questions which shall be looked upon, and those who have been actually targeted when there is a sexual violence or violence against women, anybody who are might be interested, they can file an application before all these agencies have come through. Which complaints are to be entertained? Look at series of crimes are actually entertained.
Hello.
Bigamy, you have polygamy, any cyber crimes against women, any dowry harassment, dowry death, so legal aid for women under such circumstances also you can file a case. Any gender discrimination, including equal rights to education and work, you can file a complaint. Indecent representation of women, outraging modesty of women, police apathy against women, privacy of women and rights thereof, reproductive health rights of women. If something has gone wrong, there also you are entitled to file a complaint before the respective agencies are concerned. If something has gone wrong, like right to exercise a choice in marriage, you are liberal. As far as SIDA is concerned, you are liberal to get married anyone. So based on your majority. Then sex selective abortions and female feticide and sexual harassment, including sexual harassment at working places, you have voyeurism, you have traditional practice, trafficking, violence against women. See, all these are actually entertained. If something has gone wrong, obviously you are entitled to file an application before central and state government agencies are concerned. Complaints are not entertained by the National Commission for Women. So which are the complaints which shall not be brought before National Commission for Women are concerned? So these are the restrictions are leveled. The complaints which are illegible, vague, anonymous, pseudonymous, these complaints shall not be entertained before this commission as such. If the matter relates to civil disputes between parties, such as contractual rights and obligations, those matters shall not be referred to National Human Rights Commission as such, because the National Commission has got its own limitation to share few thoughts on these issues are concerned. Look at the issue raised relates to service matter, not involving any deprivation of human rights, shall not be brought before this commission as such. The matter is subsidies. Suppose a case is actually pending before honorable courts, the same thing shall not be referred to National Commission for Women are concerned. So these are the restrictions are there when you are actually filing a complaint before National Commission for Women as such. So that's why when you are actually filing a complaint before National Commission for Women, so these are the restrictions. So how will you know if something has gone wrong and where exactly you can find some solutions? These are the solutions we have. You have to give your complaint directly to these agencies are concerned. Look at this is one of the aspects how, in what manner an individual who has been actually targeted on the basis of sexual violences, how can he file a case? I mean to say, as a person who has been actually responsible for all these massacres, So that's why individual complaints are also entertained at the international level as such. We have a special reporter. You have to bring it to the notice of special reporters. And there are some agent appeals, allegation letters. So how, in what manner these issues and challenges should be brought before the special reporters on violence against women, Office of a High Commissioner for Human Rights, which has put up in Switzerland, Geneva itself. Any individual who has been actually faced sexual violences can bring it to the notice of a special reporter. What is the communication procedure you have? Any individual, non-governmental organization, or group or network may submit a complaint to special reporter, through which you can have remedies. Otherwise, it's very difficult to understand human rights are concerned. What type of communications are sought? It should be accurate, detailed information relating to the promotion of women's rights in political, economic, civil, social, educational fields in any other country, anywhere in the world as such. When you are actually filing a complaint before a special reporter of UN Commission on Human Rights, it should be accurate and detailed. Simply, you cannot submit a complaint against to anybody as such. There shall be some evidences and fact-finding reports through which you can file a case. Otherwise, your complaint will be rejected. So what information should be included in a communication? These are the things you have to go through them. Identify as far as possible the women victim or women victims. Indicate clearly where the allegation, alleged violation are occurred, and explain the context by providing relevant background and information. And you have to provide, when available, copies of the documentation as such. This is for a procedural matter before UN Commission on Human Rights, which has been actually set up on the basis of a United Nations organization as such. That you have to understand while you're actually filing a complaint before these international agencies are concerned. You have had some limited scope while you're actually dealing with this, no matter. As I said, all rights which are guaranteed under Part 3rd and Part 4th of the Constitution, they are not absolute, subject to certain limitations. Even at the international level, whatever you have been actually witnessing, some international agreements are actually restricting you in the sense that you have to understand the obligations of others. That's very important. As I said, when you are living with others, you should know how to behave with somebody. That's very, very important. I mean to say, in nutshell, by saying that all rights are not absolute, subject to certain limitations are concerned. So that's why, while you're actually dealing with this, we have to understand what are civil rights, economic rights, political rights. Kindly have a look on. Perhaps you may have gone through while you are actually teaching your students. Look at right to life. See, Article 21 of Indian Constitution is very clear about right to life. This is a primordial right, without which other rights cannot be enjoyable. So that we have to understand. It's a question of life. Even during war and peace situations are concerned. You have got all these rights, like right to life, prohibition of slavery, right to legal recognition, right to equality before law, right to remedy, prohibition of arbitrary arrest, right to fair trial, right to privacy, right to freedom of movement, right to asylum, right to nationality. What is nationality? How, in what manner nationality can be understood? Have a look on one of the interesting cases decided by International Court of Justice, wherein the judges of International Court of Justice, they have defined what is nationality. When you are actually understanding nationality, there shall be a legal bond, sentiment, or genuine linkage between individual and a state. This is to be called as if nationality. Through nationality, you can enjoy all these rights, especially civil rights are concerned. Otherwise, you will lose all these rights. So that's why right to nationality is one of the rights guaranteed in many international covenants are concerned. So look at right to marry and found a family, right to own property, freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. What is religion? Religion is nothing but pathway to realize the God. You may be belonging to any religious fanaticism or fundamentalism. You may be belonging to Christianity. You may be belonging to Hinduism. You may be belonging to Parsism, Sikhism, Islamic faith. First of all, you have to understand what is religion. Religion is a pathway to realize the God. But in the name of religion, many people are actually being killed. So that is not the way of life. Religion is a pathway to realize the God. Religion means faith or belief in your own God as such. This is what Article 25 of the Constitution of India, which has outspoken on right to freedom of religion. So right to freedom of religion shall also be looked upon when it comes to the knowledge of civil rights of these vulnerable groups are concerned. Look at political rights. These rights have come through on the basis of a democratic values. Freedom of speech and expression. Look at Article 19(1)(a) of the Constitution of India, in which it has outspoken on freedom of speech and expression. And you should understand what are the reasonable restrictions as stated under Article 19, Clause 2 of the same Constitution as such. I mean to say that freedom of speech and expression is not absolute, subject to certain limitations are concerned that you have to understand while you're actually dealing with freedom of speech and expression as such. You have freedom of information. It is because of these reasons you have passed out Right to Information Act 2005. Right to freedom of peaceful assembly and association you have. Right to take part in government and equal access to public service. And then right of people to determine their own sovereignty. This is very, very important, right? Self-determination. What is self-determination? It is the right of the people to determine their own sovereignty. It could be economic sovereignty, social, cultural, popular, whatever it could be. So this has come through on the basis of a sovereign power is concerned. That has to be looked upon while you're actually dealing with the concept of a self-determination as such. This has come through on the basis of a value of utility. You have to understand one of the statements given by J. Smith, wherein he says that your rights have come through on the basis of a value of utility. Even in otherwise manner, Karl von Savigny in Germany, Henry Maine in United Kingdom, they say that your rights have come through on the basis of cultural variables. Cultural variables, in the sense that I must share with you, laws which are there in India might not be, holds good in United States of America as such. See, each state is autonomous in character. It can pass on a legislation, amend a legislation, and repeal a legislation as such. So such a kind of an autonomy has already been given under Article 2, Paragraph 1 of UN Charter 1945 as such. This is what the people who have already been signed on the record, like UN Charter 1945, should follow minimum obligations which are expressed in them. That you have to understand while you're actually dealing with the political rights. Why I'm showing all these slides. See, this is not an exception to women. Women, they can also enjoy civil rights, political rights, solidarity rights, cultural rights, and above all, economic rights are concerned. That you have to understand. What are the economic rights are guaranteed to women? See, when you are actually understanding, gender justice, gender justice is a wider phenomenon. It shall not be sidelined to few things are concerned. She is also a human being. That you have to understand. See, all rights which are guaranteed under the various legislations and international covenants should be brought in, and they are within you. That you have to understand. From these perspectives, while you're actually dealing with different kinds of observations, one shall not be forgotten on economic rights are concerned. Kindly have a look on what are the economic rights are guaranteed to these vulnerable groups, none other than women are concerned. They have a right to work, right to favorable conditions of work, right to form and join trade union, right to social security, right to children for special protection, right to adequate standard of living, right to health, education, liberty to choose a non-public school, right to participate in and enjoy the fruits of culture and science. This is what I have already been spoken of. The fruits of justice should be shared to the people who are left out in the society. I mean to say that triple justice, economic, social, and political justice should be shared to the people. I mean to say women are concerned. So in this context, you have to understand all this to overcome inequalities in the given society as such. So what are the legal protections you have? At the higher level as such? These are the covenants have set up. You have African Charter on Democracy, Elections and Governance. You have. Then you have African Charter on Human and People's Rights. You have African Charter on Rights of Welfare of Children, American Convention on Human Rights, American Declaration of Rights and Duties of Man. You have Arab Charter on Human Rights. You have Convention on Elimination of all forms of discrimination against women. That is a 1979. You have Convention on Nationality of Married Women. You have Convention on Political Rights of Women. You have the Convention for the Suppression of Traffic in Person of the exploitation of prostitution of others. These are the legal protections are there at the international level as such, and India has already been ratified as many as the international covenants are concerned. We are running. We have already been ratified UN Convention on Elimination of all forms of discrimination against women in 1979 as such. It was because of these reasons we were able to justify what is sexual harassment at working place in a case, as you have already been known and expressed in this, seminar, Vishaka versus State of Rajasthan's case is concerned. So apart from these, you have some more UN conventions. Have a look on Council of Europe Convention on Prevention and Combating Violence Against Women and Domestic Violence. You have all these, American, then UN Covenant on Civil and Political Rights 1966, then International Covenant on Economic, Social, Cultural Rights 1966, then United Nations Standard Minimum Rules for Treatment of Prisoners. So look at when you are actually dealing with the civil and political rights and economic, social and cultural rights. In 1966, India signed these two main conventions. It was because of these reasons in 1993, Parliament of India passed out the Protection of Human Rights Act 1993. By passing Human Rights Act 1993, we have adhered to the ratification process in which it is highly expressive under Vienna Convention on Law of Treaties 1969 as such. Look at Convention on Elimination of all forms of discrimination against women. This covenant was actually responsible to understand the problems of women all over the world as such. It's a comprehensive treaty. There is no second thought in it. It condemns any form of discrimination, as I said earlier. Any sexual violence can be restricted and could be prosecuted. I mean to say that no serious criminals shall not go unpunished. They should be prosecuted accordingly. If X happens, then Y ought to happen. I know who bells the cat, it's very difficult. You have to catch the cat, bell the cat, and witness where exactly it is moving. This is very, very important. And you should not have sweeping or safe corner statements when you are actually understanding this. I must share with you, being a student of law, some people, they read law, they are not understanding. Some people, they read law, they are understanding, but they don't know how to interpret the law. See, not the least. See, some people, they read law, they know how to understand law, they know how to interpret the law. When they are actually sitting as if, higher authorities, look at their statements, highly sweeping, and they do have their own corner statements. That's not the way of life. So you have to judge accordingly. If something has gone wrong, if she is actually suffering from any violence, you have to bring it to the notice of higher authorities. This is one of the responsibilities shouldered on you. This is to be called as if a karma. The karma for others, that's why you have to understand. Obligations are shouldered on you. One owes duty towards others. This is very, very important from the point of view of understanding the concept of the karma as such. So that's why, when we were actually drafting this covenant, lots of efforts were made to understand the problems of women all over the world. And this affirms the importance of guaranteeing equal political, economic, social, and cultural and civil rights of women all over the world as such. So this has to be looked upon, and you have to understand. Although you have got some criticisms leveled against to this convention, look at the developments that are taken place soon after this convention. It's really appreciated. Thanks to United Nations Organization and its half-century enactments, with a view to understand gender discrimination all over the world as such. So that's why you have to sensitize on the basis of this convention also. Kindly have a look on, understand this convention, and disseminate this convention very well, through which you can overcome what are the issues and challenges you are running over there. So what I would like to say with you, when you have got some problems, you have to have some conflict resolutions. That's one of the solutions I'm just giving you. So gender equality, what does it mean? Equal rights, responsibilities, and opportunity of women, men, girls, and boys. This is what we expressed in a Beijing Declaration, a platform of action held on 15th September 1995 as such. Hillary Clinton was actually responsible to answer all the people who were actually sitting in this platform as such. So in this context, you have to understand all this. Look at the steps taken in a Beijing Declaration, and platform of action should also be verified. Although we have got some,
ದೊರೆ ಅವ್ನ್ ಪೆಟ್ರೋಲ್ ಹಾಕ್ಸೋದು ಹೆಂಗ್ ಗೊತ್ತಾ? 20 ರೂಪಾಯಿ
gender equality as look at human rights issues. You have violence against women, reproductive health issues, participation in society, government, marriage, family, labor, employment, power, property rights. All these issues we have, but we have to overcome, and that's why some of the steps have been taken into note of. To overcome all these issues and challenges here and there, something has to be looked upon. There shall be minimum effectiveness. I mean to say that you have to give some powers to National Human Rights Commission to redress the grievance of women, country like India. That's why I have come up with some suggestions. The National Human Rights Commission should be made independent body and to be empowered. And there are some intricacies in section 21, class 1 of the Protection of Human Rights Act 1993 and section 30. It should be reformed. So based on certain classical changes, otherwise it's very difficult to understand the problems of women, country like India. And there shall be periodical survey. Legal aid should be given to these vulnerable groups. You have to give grants to non-governmental organizations who are actually responsible for, gender sensitization. This is very, very important from the point of view of understanding, these parameters. In nutshell, I can say that the way in which public international law has come through, many aspects shall be looked upon. And as you have already been known, that public international law is nothing but body of rules and principles which regulates the members of international community as a whole. It has got many allied subjects like we have international criminal law, we have international humanitarian law, we have international human rights law, law of war we have. Of course, law of war is actually divided into 3 steps: aerial warfare, naval warfare, then land warfare as such. So apart from these allied subjects of a public international law, we have air and space law. If something has gone wrong, when she is actually flying from one place to another place, she should be given an opportunity to to be protected, her life. So this is very, very important from the point of view of understanding the air and space law also. So what I would like to share with you, when you're actually understanding gender sensitization, much has been discussed, no matter. I think nothing is left out to us. However, it stimulates us to throw light on the subject once again and have a look on, and you have to have some action plans to overcome some of the problems in which she has been facing since the time immemorial. Since time immemorial. That's what I said. Why laws are actually favoring women? It is because of historical injustice and practical denials. It is because of historical injustice and practical denials. She has been actually possessing many rights, not only in India, cutting across the world as such. So that's why we need to have some action plans to understand these vulnerable groups are concerned. See, there shall be harmony between men and women. They should go hand in hand. Sometimes they would be called as if 2 bodies of the one soul, 2 faces of the soul, same coin. Of course, this is highly philosophical. I agree with you. However, there is a lot of scope to understand the problems between men and women are concerned. So you are a better judge what is right and what is wrong. There is a lot of scope on the basis of a cultural change. We don't want to have cultural change in the society as a whole. So based on cultural change, you can work up based on some obligations available. Obligations available. What kind of obligations you have? What kind of responsibilities? Liabilities are shouldered on as a member of the civil society as a whole. And moreover, you have to respect the law of the land. This is very, very important. You have to obey the law of the land. Whatever the legislations are passed by the parliamentarian should be respected. And moreover, the constitutional goals should be looked upon. What is constitution? It's a legal code. See, constitution is not at all, a drama or a novel or a story. Constitution is not at all a drama, a story, or novel as such. it talks about socio-economic and cultural rights that you have to uphold. So that's why when you are actually understanding constitutional law of this country, please understand how people are living in India. This is very, very important. That's why at the end of this session, I would like to share based on these factors. First of all, you have to respect human relationship, family or kids, through which you can understand gender equality as such. So that's why like should be treated alike and like should not be treated like. Equal protection of law before law should be looked upon. When there is a right to equality, fairness should be maintained. This is very, very important. When the fairness is missing, the very purpose of law would be defeated. And you have to balance the interest between hard laws and soft laws are concerned. Sometimes, you might be having few categorical distinctions between hard legislations and soft legislation. Being a student of law, I can share with you, in absence of hard legislations, soft law will play an important role. You know why? Why? The people are actually knocking the doors of judiciary. They need justice. They have not come here. Which law is the supreme? Either international law or municipal law as such. These are the two eyes of the jurisprudence. Should be looked upon and verified once again when you're actually dealing with the very crucial issue of gender inequality as such. So that's why I must share with you based on few observations made by several thinkers. They take for an example, your Leo Tolstoy. Leo Tolstoy, he says, one of the first conditions of the happiness is to bridge the gap between man and nature. That shall not be broken. That shall not be broken. The relationship between man and nature shall not be broken. That you have to understand. And moreover, law is a supreme enough law, and it can be changed. I agree with you. There is a lot of scope to change the law. When we were actually deciding some cases with reference to amending the part 3rd of the Constitution of India, like fundamental rights, especially in Sajjan Singh case, Shankari Prasad's case, Golaknath's case. Very thought-provoking issues raised before Honorable Supreme Court of India as such. To overcome all these cases, especially in 1973, in a case Keshavananda Bharati versus State of Kerala. So in this particular case, it has been directed that the basic structure of the Constitution of India shall not be amended as it is expressed under Article 368 of the Constitution of India. So there are so many things that shall be looked upon while you are actually dealing with gender equality. So that's why law is actually changing every day and night. This is what Stephen Wago of United States of America, he says, law is an instrument of social change. It may change from time to time as a science and technological development as such. So that's why law is actually evergreen. It is keep changing every day and night on the basis of preponderant interests of common man as such. So that's why from these observations, I can say that no matter, however, you might have got some criticisms leveled against to gender justice, no matter, as I said, it's a highly sensitive issue. When you are actually addressing gender justice, you have to be careful. This is very, very important. You have to balance the interest between man and woman. Otherwise, the very purpose of this holistic society or integrated society would be undermined and underestimated. So in this context, at the end of this session, I can say that we don't want to have cultural change in the society. So through cultural change in the society, you can overcome gender inequality, not only in India, cutting across the world as well. So thank you very much. If you have got some questions, I'm happy to share with you. Do you have some questions? Do you have some questions? ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳಿದ್ರೆ ಕೇಳ್ಬೋದು.
ಸರ್
ಹೇಳಿ.
in the reference of the Keshavananda Swamiji with the Kerala,
Yes,
sir,
sir.
what issue, sir, that?
Yeah, it talks about basic structure theory. Basic structure theory in the sense that when the constitution is that you cannot amend the entire constitution as such, and you cannot rewrite it, destroy it.
Yeah,
isn't it? And it
Yes.
has given you some inputs to understand what is basic structure theory. Look at, you have a rule of law, supremacy of the constitution, sovereign power, economic justice, political justice, social justice,
yeah,
and moreover judicial review. See, under the Constitution of India, judicial review is also permitted. You have got all these rights. Under Article 32 and 226, you can move to the court for filing a writ petitions. You have a certiorari, quo warranto, mandamus, prohibition, habeas corpus. These are the 5 writ petitions can be filed before honorable high courts and Supreme Court as well. It is permitted. Suppose if something has gone wrong, the judgment given by the Supreme Court of India is against to the morality of the human being or public interest, then you can go for judicial review. Even if you have failed in judicial review, there is a possibility to go for curative petition, but you should have some justification while you are actually filing a curative petition before Honorable Supreme Court of India. This is what Ashok Hurra's case has given you some inputs how to file a curative petition before Honorable Supreme Court of India. So in this context, in 1993, in fact, Supreme Court of India came out with very good propositions by saying that the basic structure of the Constitution of India cannot be amended. You have to uphold the constitutional values. This is what Keshavananda Bharati versus State of Kerala. In this particular case, in fact, your Soli Sorabji, Nariman, Pali Nariman, Nani Valke Pala, these were the people who argued on behalf of these sides, and they said that you cannot amend the entire constitution, you cannot rewrite it, you cannot destroy it. The constitution should be protected. This is your duty. The constitution is given, and you have to uphold the constitutional values. However, you might have got some criticisms, but there is a room for discussing all these issues. The parliament is empowered to decide what is to be done and what ought not to be done. And there are 3 instrumentalities. You have a legislature, executives, and judiciary. Isn't it? Through which you can understand. There is a lot of scope to understand the basic structure theory. Thanks to Keshavananda Bharati. Very recently passed away in Kerala. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳಿದಾವೆ, ಕೇಳ್ಬೋದು ದಯಮಾಡಿ.
ಸರ್ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ.
ನಮಸ್ತೆ, ಹೇಳಿ
ಸರ್ ನಾನು ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಗಣೇಶ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಸರ್.
ಹೇಳಿ ಸರ್.
ಮೊದಲಿಗೆ ನಿಮಗೆ ಅಭಿನಂದನೆಗಳು. ಹ್ಯೂಮನ್ ರೈಟ್ಸ್ ಗೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟಂತೆ ಇಡೀ ಜಗತ್ತಿನಲ್ಲಿರುವಂತಹ ಕಾನೂನುಗಳನ್ನ ಬಹಳ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಟ್ರಿ 2 ಸೆಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ. ನನ್ನ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಏನಂದ್ರೆ,
ಹೇಳಿ ಸರ್.
ಮಾನವ ಘನತೆಯನ್ನ ಎತ್ತಿಡಿಯೋದಕ್ಕೆ, ಸ್ತ್ರೀ ಚೈತನ್ಯದ ಘನತೆಯನ್ನ ಎತ್ತಿಡಿಯೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಇಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಕಾನೂನುಗಳು ಇದ್ರೂ ಕೂಡ ಮನುಷ್ಯ ಇಷ್ಟೊಂದು ವಿಕೃತಿಯ ಹಾದಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇದಾನಲ್ಲ, ಈ ಕಾನೂನುಗಳ ಮುಖಾಂತರವೇ ಎಲ್ಲವನ್ನೂ ಪರಿಹಾರ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯವೇ ಅನ್ನೋ ಒಂದು ಸಂಶಯ ಸರ್.
ಹೌದು. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾನು ಮೊದಲೇ ಹೇಳಿದೆ, ಎಂಟೈರ್ ಸಿವಿಲ್ ಸೊಸೈಟಿ ಇಸ್